Blue skies cool. They seduce us, pulling us irresistibly upwards, reminding us to fly our own line, on our wings, and in life. We are the seekers, adventurers, being one with the air, feeling everything and nothing at once. That's the magic we chase. Follow the cool. Find your pure, wild flight with NZ Aerosports.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go. Back in the can for another edition of Lunatic Fringe Into the Void. And I know you just cracked a beer, so cheers.
Cheers, man.
I got coconut water, but it'll do the trick for now. Tell me, who the fuck are you and what do you do?
All right, so my name's Zack Rosser, and I'm a wedding videographer.
So it's a perfect person to have on a skydiving podcast.
Perfect person.
Awesome. So, yeah, I know we talked beforehand. I always think it's kind of funny to find out what other stuff people do besides jumping out of airplanes. But you're obviously a skydiver and you do some silly shit now and then, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm basically wedding videographer, and then on weekends when I'm not filming a wedding, I'll be throwing drogues, coaching, and just working at the drop site, basically.
Nice. So a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, yeah.
So how did first off, we'll talk a lot about how you got into the camera side of things. And obviously if you're doing that for work outside, that lends to a lot of the cool shit we do in the sport with cameras and all that stuff. But which came first? Yeah. Were you doing videos and stuff for work outside of everything, or?
It kind of blended together. So I was skydiving first, and I was always just doing like travel videos, skydiving edits, etc. And then one of my friends, Alex, who I skydive with, he was getting married and liked a lot of my editing style and filming style. And then he asked me to film his wedding, which at the time I thought was a massive thing to film someone's wedding. Sure. It's the biggest day of their life.
Yeah.
And then long story short, filmed it, edited it, posted it, and they loved it. And then their friends saw it, and then it kind of just snowballed from there. And that's kind of how I got into the wedding industry. Was just kind of just fell into it, really.
Isn't it kind of funny how it works that way? I mean, in skydiving, because it's got so many people from so many different backgrounds and works, you never know where it's going to lead to.
Yeah, and it's the same with skydiving. Like, I always knew I'd be flying something, and it's not unnatural that this is the industry or this is the passion that I got into. Like, if you ask my mum, she would know this is exactly where I would have been. And nice. Same because yeah.
Well, how did you get started in anything extreme? I mean, it sounds to me like it was from a young age.
Oh, super young. Hey, it all stems from my dad. My dad is probably my icon, or like someone I've looked up to growing up. And he's ever since a young age, like I think when he was in paragliding, like pretty in the paragliding scene. So I was always at a young age, from 3 onwards, just watching him paraglide. I was helping him pack paragliders. Like, I was just in and around that kind of scene. And I think he took me for a tandem when I was like 3 or 4. Just had like a dodgy little rock climbing kids harness that he then carabined into his paraglider, and then we just launched off.
What did your mom think of that?
Well, she didn't have much of a choice because it's all I wanted to do. And then as soon as we landed, I was just like, daddy, again, gotta go again. And I was hooked. So I was originally born in England. And then 2010, my whole family moved over to Australia. Okay. And then when I got of age of like, I think just over 18, I was keen to start progressing in paragliding because that's all I kind of knew from growing up. But in South Australia, there's not much of a scene for it. You kind of have to travel interstate to learn and do like the PG1 course, et cetera, et cetera. So my dad then recommended, why don't you do a tandem? So I was like, all right, I'll do a tandem. And I looked into it more, figured out you could learn to skydive. And I was like, all right, all I want to do is learn to skydive. And dad was like, all right, maybe before you commit to it fully, you should do a tandem, see if you actually like it.
Sure.
And then did a tandem and then didn't look back.
What was that first jump?
First jump was SA skydiving down in South Australia. And and that's where I did my AF. That's where I've done all my work jumps. It's where I've done, it's my home job zone.
Okay,
and
all right.
To me, it's the best place to jump, I think.
Did you find that the sport also translated quite well and easily for you, or were there any hiccups trying to get through learning?
No, well, it was the funny thing because like throughout the AF and like my AF course, I knew a lot of the answers from my dad. Like, you know, you've got to land into wind. You know, you always eat the carrot, that kind of stuff. I knew the basics. I knew a lot of the canopy handling stuff from, you know, just watching dad and learning from dad. But in the AF course, I knew the answers, but I didn't want to say the answers in case they were wrong.
Sure.
But then I slowly found out, I was like, maybe I actually know a lot more than what I think. And then,
sure.
Not that it came easy. I just think it became natural to some extent.
Sure. Now, did you?
There's definitely been some challenges because I'm a light person. I'm tall. I'm 180 centimeters and 60 kilos on a good day.
Oh, Jesus. So you're like a nightmare student. As an AFF student, you're the type that scared the fuck out of me.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, man. Because you're the guy that if you start spinning and get away from me, I'm
going up.
Yeah, man, because I'm short and thick. So I tend to fall. I fall like a brick taped to another brick. You know, I mean, I've got two speeds, fast and faster. So.
Yeah. But then I don't know, the parachute and like flying the parachute and swooping was that was what interested me from such an early on in my jumping career. Like before I started my AF, I was just that person that would YouTube videos like on learning to AF and like finding out what I could do or how much I could learn before the course to help me. Sure. And I remember so many nights at home where I was watching, like, for instance, like the DIPC, like the Dubai like parachuting swoop league. Sure. And I'd watch like all the rounds of that before I even started my AF. But I was just so intrigued on like the swooping and the competition environment. And then, I don't know, just somehow that just fluently went through.
Well, and I think as we're discovering, as it gets more and more mainstream with the sport, that one of the most spectator-friendly sports is swooping. It translates very well on video and in person to being able to really enjoy watching what's going on. Even if you don't understand the rules or the tricks, it just looks cool.
Oh, without a doubt. It's probably the only spectator sport you can have in skydiving. It's spectator discipline you could have in skydiving.
Yeah, well, you've got accuracy as well, but accuracy is very low key, very mellow, and I've got a good friend of mine that I've joked around with all the time because he was huge into style and accuracy, and it does take a lot of discipline, and I've talked shit about the discipline before because I think it's funny. I joke around and say it's like watching a helium balloon with a slow leak. That being said, if they ever made me do it, I'm sure I'd suck at it because it's a lot harder than it looks. It's just fun to make fun of them.
Yeah, there's nothing better than being at nationals and standing around the big inflatable, just heckling them as they're coming in.
Yes, well, so that's the other cool thing about accuracy, though, is the fact that you can literally have people just surrounding a small area, and that's the event. It's just right there. Whereas now, of course, with swooping, you've got to clear it out like a runway, land in 747s because the damn things go so far.
Yeah, Cedric got 200 meters of distance will set the record or something like that. It's just insane what people are getting.
It is insane. And as the technology continues to advance and the wings get higher performing, oh my God.
It's exciting.
Yes. So now you started out, you did your AFF, you knew this is what you wanted to do at a young age. Was dad out there jumping with you or was he just kind of supporting?
No, so Dad's only ever done tandems, I think maybe 5 or 6. So he's done a few when he was younger. I think he may have done a few static lines, like when he was just just younger and just like figuring things what his passion was. But then it led to paragliding. But no, he never did his AF. He's never done any solos. But it's since I got my instructor rating, for his 50th birthday, which was last year, I had the honor of taking him for a tandem, which was a super cool moment.
That is very cool.
Yeah, my most I don't want to say it's my most memorable because I also took my mum for her 50th.
Oh, nice, nice.
In the same year, so they're like, I've taken my mum, my dad, and my brother for a tandem, and all 3 of them are equally. But my dad's would probably have to be my most memorable, only because I've then got a photo of him taking me for a tandem, and then I've got a photo of me taking him for a tandem.
That's pretty damn cool. Well, and especially because it was his drive in Aerosports that eventually led to yours.
Yeah, we shared a moment. I'd always planned on pitching the canopy earlier, so we could spend some time under canopy, and that's more of the moment, like having some time on canopy, flying together, and actually chatting. And I remember him saying, like, Zach, like, I'm very proud of you. Like, this is one of my proudest moments. And to me, that was a good highlight. Yeah,
that is so cool. And it rings a very strange chord for me, because you had just talked about your dad didn't do the AFF for this stuff as a younger guy. Your fucking dad's younger than me.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't know if you saw my face twist slightly when you said you took him for his 50th birthday. He's younger than me. Fucking hell.
Oh, you've aged well.
That's because I refuse to grow up. That's very, very funny that I'm talking to an experienced skydiving instructor whose dad is younger than me. That's a very weird So as you transitioned into the sport, obviously you got through your AFF and became a fun jumper. Did you know right away, I want to work in the sport? This is something I'm going to be pushing for?
Kind of. And I kind of needed to, because I didn't have much money. So I talked to my CI, Myth, and a few of the local like DZSOs, and I was like, look, I need some coin. And I started off as a fluffer, just like dubbing videos, harnessing up like punters, and basically just bitch boy of the drop zone, just doing everything that needs to be done. And then got my packer. I was just packing, and then I slowly figured out the best way to actually jump and it not cost anything was to do camera.
Yeah.
So I just got good at doing camera, good at doing camera for tandems, and then it kind of everything on just naturally or just lined, sort of not fate, but just things just happened at right times.
Sure.
And there was a 4-way team who needed a camera flyer. And that's when I was training for my first nationals. So I needed to do a lot of hop and pops. And then they asked if I could then do camera. And I was like, well, camera, I'm pitching at 5, a little bit over 5. It's basically a free hop and pop. So yes, of course I'll do it. And then it's just free swoops.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of where it went. And then in turn, because I'm a Canopy coach as well. So I do Canopy courses, and then recently started running flocking events around Australia and hopefully soon to be New Zealand, fingers crossed if the borders play game.
Sure.
And then the Canopy coach thing sort of happened when I was at nationals, and they were sort of looking for more Canopy coaches. And then I came back home after a national competition, spoke to my CI, Myth, who was his passion. His name's Greg Smith, or also known as Myth, and he's pioneer of the sport in Australia. And his passion is canopy piloting and just loves canopy piloting, all parachutes. And he was super supportive and really pushed me into doing canopy coaching, and then started sponsoring me a little bit and helped me around the drop zone. And then that's how I could jump a bit more, as long as I just run courses regularly. So then I started running back canopy courses a lot more regularly. And that's kind of how the coaching then started happening, really. And then that translated into just then coaching, again, instructorating, to then quitting my job, to then working at the drop zone.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and it does seem to go that way too. If you know you want to aim that direction, you kind of look for those opportunities, and you're willing to, do that extra legwork, to do all the shitty jobs around the drop zone, which means you eventually get to shoot that video, which gives you the opportunity to do exactly what you did. Now, when did you know you really wanted to get into the swooping side of things?
I think it was like for an early age, like early in the career, like, I don't know. I just watched a lot of the instructors around the drop zone swooping. I was like, that looks sick. And then I've actually got it in my logbook, which is super bad. And as a coach, I would never, ever, ever recommend this. It's like written in my logbook. I think it's jump 35, and I'm on like an Eagle 170, which I've never even heard of that canopy ever again. And I've written in my logbook. It's like jump 35, held onto the front risers, planed out high. Needed to hold on to them for longer to plane it out across the ground. And I just knew nothing at the time. And if someone ever came up to me at 35 jumps, it's not.
Well, shit. Nowadays, if they're trying to do that at 135 jumps, you're going to go, whoa, slow down a little bit. It's I mean, granted, I've been in the sport a lot longer than you, and when I started, it was still the same. It was canopies where people were getting hurt and killed, and not out of malfunctions, because they were doing stupid shit. But it was a little bit more acceptable 25 years ago to do that stupid shit. Now, because there's so much coaching involved and so many different resources for new students to go to, it's frowned upon a lot more, because you look at people and go, you've got way too many resources to be fucking around on your own like this.
Oh, without doubt. And I think I started in a stage where locally to us in South Australia, the instructors were still trying to figure out themselves, and there wasn't a lot of coaching canopy courses happening locally. We was always having to get coaches flown in to get courses ran. So I was getting a lot of ideas and a lot of feedback off of the local, big dogs or local instructors. But nowadays, like now in South Australia, like I'm running courses regularly. There's another coach, Bo, who's running courses very regularly as well. And the information on hand to jumpers now is, without a doubt, you can just get it without having to fly coaches in. It's just there for people. There's almost no excuses, and it's just everything's just become a lot more safer, and there's a lot more education going around.
Oh yeah. Well, and I've noticed too, I've been a big part of a group going around Facebook for a while now called the Beginner Skydiving Forum. And the students are actively asking all the right questions from almost no jumps. I mean, there's guys that have only done 2 or 3 tandems that are deciding they want to go into their AFF, and they're already asking the right questions. And I see the community as a whole really guiding people towards the much safer decisions. Because let's face it, skydiving is a sport where you want to learn from other people's mistakes.
Oh, without a doubt. And I've made a lot of them. So if I can help people learn from mine, then I've done something good.
What's your biggest fuck up?
Well, it would have to be when it was when I first got my canopy to start swooping properly. So I was on a Pilot 150 and I was learning to swoop then, and you got the short recovery arc because it's a beginner student canopy, you could say. It's square. And then that's when I transitioned over to my Mamba 150, which is super elliptical and trim super steep, and just did the classic where swapped canopies over at home. So I was super excited with no one watching, no one helping me, no one guiding me. I was young as well in jumping career. And then the worst part is I did it all, and then my friend needed to borrow a rig, and I was like, oh, I've got a rig. Handed the rig over, who then jumped that weekend, and I wasn't at the drop zone, jumped the canopy, did a free fall, canopy opened, no worries. And then as soon as he popped the brakes, the rear risers soft links disconnected on him. And then he was only hanging on to the canopy by the front soft links, which were then probably would have disconnected as well. So in hindsight, if they held on till he started swooping, he would have been dead. It would have disconnected and he would have died. For sure, without doubt. And I was just lucky that happened at a safe altitude, and he cut away safely and survived to tell the tale. But I definitely got a phone call from my CI where he made me think that he was dead. And it was not good.
I'm going to give you credit. That's a proper fuck up.
Oh man, it was bad. It was bad. I had a lot of punishment where I had to sit with our pack array and just watch reserves get packed for a day.
And skydivers being
I learned a lot from that. But
Well, and skydivers being who we are, you'll hear about that for the entire time you're in the sport. Your whole career, someone will remind you, hey, you remember that time?
Yeah, but the thing is, then I only recently, I think towards the end of the year just gone, I saw a jumper doing the exact same thing. Like he rushed, packed his new canopy at nighttime, came to the drop zone, and it wasn't that I heard it, or a group of us heard it, that he hooked up a canopy last night, that we dragged the canopy out and realized that he did the soft links wrong. It's that he did the exact same thing I did, but was just lucky enough that there was a group of people around that made him unpack it, and we realized, and that basically could have, it saved him.
Yeah. Well, again, it's learning from other people's mistakes in a big way.
Yeah.
I have a good buddy by the name of Jackson that did something similar, although he was just switching out, I believe he was switching out risers, and I don't know the exact details of the story, but a sub 100 canopy swapped out for another sub 100 canopy, and when he pitched and opened up, he was flying backwards.
Yeah, nice.
Which is, you know, the ultimate comedy. And he was shooting video, of course. It was a tandem jump, so I believe he even stayed on it long enough to make sure that the video captured just how fucking silly this was, and he took the RSL off so that he could chop and flip himself around, so he wasn't chasing his reserve pilot chute as he cut away. But it was, again, that one just turned out to be quite funny, because no matter what, he wasn't going to land that thing. But yeah, yours was potentially a little bit more serious.
It's a special story, that's for sure.
Yes.
And I clocked that. I'll never hear the end of that forever. Like, my friend recently was hooking up a canopy, and he's like, "Oh, Zach, do you mind looking over my soft links?"
You'll get that for your entire career.
Oh, that's me done for life. But you know, I will never, ever, ever make that mistake again, though. So
right. But that's the good thing, is especially because skydivers are so brutal at making sure people don't forget. You won't make that mistake again. There's no way. You'd never live it down.
That's it. The boys will never make sure I never live that down.
Yeah.
And like, I think a month after that, we have in Australia, it's called like the Australian Skydivers magazine. So every 3 months we get a magazine with like all the events, articles and stuff like that, a few safety things. And the first page after the opening cover was how to connect soft links to your canopy. And the amount of people that sent me a photo of that straight afterwards. Oh, my phone was just going bing, 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 bing.
Of course. Well, and who knows, the author may have written it knowing about your story. It's a small sport, man. Shit gets around really quick. Well, and especially when you talk about as small as it is for each individual country. You know, Australia is a big place, but the skydiving community is quite small.
You always know someone of someone.
Oh,
and it doesn't take long to stem back to someone you know or yourself.
No, not at all. Speaking of which,
it's a good thing. It can be a bad thing at times.
Of course it can. I had an opportunity to speak to a couple of Aussie jumpers that told me all about the last Funny Farm. Were you out there for that?
No. Well, so there's the Funny Farm, which is like the free fall event where, you know, all the shredders go to, and, you know, they do the massive, like the big stunt that you would have seen with the pop with the plane, etc. And then after that, they have like a swoop farm, where basically it's just only hop and pops, and it's just people there just to shred the pond. So I was lucky enough to get invited to the swoop farm. So I've been to swoop farm. I've been to Funny Farm, but not for the official Funny Farm.
Fair enough. Well, but
it's one of those places. It's a great drop zone. It's the best pond I've ever been over, where water to grass is like level, and Roger looks after that, and Noodle look after that so well. And yeah, it's weird. You just go there and you're just already in good vibes, because you can just feel all the good vibes that have been left there.
Well, and it's in the middle of nowhere, isn't it?
Mate, you lose reception. You drive in there, you drive away, and then you turn left onto one road, and as soon as you turn left onto that road, your phone just goes out, and you can't get reception until you go back to that road.
That's cool, though.
That's what makes fun what it is, because there's no phone reception, and everyone's there to socialize and hang out with the people that are there.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I've never been, but I've heard the stories from a couple of guests on the show, and then I've heard stories off the show, and holy shit.
Yeah, it's probably all true.
Yeah. Oh, I have no doubt. Now, how did you get started in the Canopy coaching stuff? Obviously, to get to the level of Canopy coaching, you've got to be performing at that next level. So how did you get yourself to that level, and how did the coaching come about?
The coaching kind of came about in terms, like Australia, they started up like a new coaching, like a new Canopy coach. There's the high performance Canopy coach, and then there's what's called like a basic Canopy coach. So they started up this basic Canopy coach where it was just like a new rating. No one had it. And they announced it at the Nationals. And I realized that there wasn't a Canopy coach in South Australia. So I was like, okay, maybe I should do that then. And that's when I spoke to my CI Myth, and he was super supportive, really pushed me into it as well. I got the rating. And then funnily enough, my rating is Canopy Coach #1, because I was the first one to get the rating.
Cool. That's cool.
Paid some beer. Yeah, so paid some beer for that. And then I was just doing Canopy courses locally. And then it kind of just, I don't know, like I said, things just fell into place at the right time, right place. I had one guy come down from Brisbane, his name was Sean, to attend one of my courses, and it was like the biggest thing. I thought, like, you know, an interstater coming down to my course, that's huge.
Sure.
And he loved the course, went back home to Brisbane, told like his drop zone about it, and then he went so far out of his way to get me up to there.
How cool is that?
And yeah, I was super grateful, very grateful. And which then led to me going to Brisbane to run a canopy course there, which then got the name out a little bit more, and then more people then come to South Australia to come onto the events. But the biggest one was on all the canopy courses I've always done, I've always tried to end every day with doing a flocking jump. And then to me, a flocking jump was, was just getting out super long, like almost like a cross-country jump. And I've never had a jump where no one's not had a good time on a flocking jump. Flying canopies relative to each other, it's always a frothy jump.
Sure.
And I was like, that's brought me to the idea of maybe there could be an event of just doing flocking jumps, like just a flocking event instead of a canopy course where you end with a flocking jump. So I had the idea of running a flocking event, and I'd sort of planned it a little bit. I was sort of reaching out to like Chris Stewart, Andrew Wolf, and a few others, and just bouncing some ideas off and just getting a little bit more information on how to run a flocking jump and some flocking jump ideas, and more of like the safety things and like what could go wrong and what may go wrong, et cetera, et cetera. But it wasn't until I was competing in New South Wales at a swoop event that I bumped into another canopy coach who's called Jesse Warren. And he was thinking about running a flocking event at the same time. So then we kind of bumped into ideas, sharing ideas back and forth. And then that's when he invited me to help him coach at his event, which is in Byron Bay, which that was like the next big thing that happened to me. And I think that's what kickstarted everything. Like I got invited, I got flown up to Byron Bay to coach, which then built this friendship with Jesse, which then helped me get invited then to Far North Freefall up in Cairns to help coach an event up there. But it just opened so many doors. So then when I ran my event in South Australia, I just had all this knowledge, and then it just went so much better than I ever anticipated. And yeah, I don't know. And then it kind of just snowballed from there. As soon as I posted the video online of the flocking event, I was getting messages from at least one person in each state saying this needs to happen in our state. And then, yeah, now it's just snowballed out. Like I'm getting ready. I just had my friend over, Niall, helping me, who helps me with the flocking events, which is coming up with a camp structure and stuff for a camp we're running next week up in Brisbane at Toogoolawah, which I'm super excited about. It's going to be some big weight jumps, all, sub 100 canopies. And it's got some exciting jumps planned. Excited.
It's got to be. Well, and visually, it's very spectacular for those people that aren't doing it, just being able to watch.
Unreal.
Yeah, it's incredible. It really is. So now let me ask, you're a low time jumper, and you're seeing these videos and enjoying the idea of being able to go out and do this flocking stuff yourself. As a low time jumper, what should I be thinking about in regard to how to progress to be able to do that kind of stuff?
In terms of how to get onto a flocking camp, is that what you're sort of saying?
Just as I'm learning, what should I be thinking of and focusing on so that I'm starting to build the skills that I will eventually be able to use in that environment?
Yeah, I think it's more just getting out, talking to your local coaches. It's more just understanding what your canopy does, like, what inputs do what, and like how things react. What you might do on your canopy is going to be completely different than what someone else does on their canopy. It's not, There's no single right answer. It's just more what happens to you is what the answer will be for you.
Sure.
So I think understanding your canopy, flying that, knowing what your canopy inputs do and how they will relate to another canopy next to you. And then just reaching out to myself, Jesse, or a canopy coach, local canopy coach, on how you can do that, and starting off with 2 ways. And then just progressing. Nice. Kind of like your B rail. You start off like your B license. Start off with 2 ways, that progress to 3 ways, 4 ways, and then you get your star correct, and then opens up to your 10 ways and above. Sure. I guess it's kind of very similar to that.
Do you do any crew type stuff as well, or is it all just the flocking?
I'm so shit scared of crew. I've done some Me too. Me too. I've done some crew. I've done very minimal crew. I've done some like diamonds, a lot of stacking and stuff. I'm not a crew coach. There's the actual crew coaches down here in South Australia are the ones that they're on the Australian team and represent Australia at the Worlds. So they're very knowledgeable guys, Tommaso and Marty. But now I've done some crew, shit scared of it, mainly because I have to jump a bigger canopy. So my wing loading then goes to like 1 and I don't get the forward drive of a landing. So I'm just going straight down again and it scares the shit out of me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you guys brief with the flocking stuff for the potential for collisions and wraps? I'd imagine that's got to be something you talk about extensively.
Yeah, so usually each camp will start off with a little bit of like a safety brief PowerPoint that sort of goes through, anything that you might need to know, like risk of canopy wraps, collisions, the procedure for each of those and how each of those are different as well. And then, approaches, how to approach, how to break off, and then just the different types of formations that we might fly throughout the camp.
Very cool.
Etc. And then the more it goes up, the risk level then goes up as well. Like my friend, myself and Niall, it's one of those things, if you want to run an event, you kind of always got to be at the front edge. Otherwise it's not that someone might take over and that's completely fine. Because if someone else is pushing at the same time you are, it makes you push a little bit harder as well, because then it's that friendly competition.
Sure.
But you've always got to find new jumps. You've got to test out new things to then translate into the event. So then me and my friend Niall, let's try and figure out how to do barrel rolls, like over the top of a canopy.
Sure.
And the risk of collision for that was like 95%. And we were like, and it nearly did. Like we did the barrel roll, it was top skin. And then I think I was a little bit heavy on the top of his canopy and it indented and half of his canopy folded inwards like this and then spat me out one side. And that's the closest I've come. But
that's the scary part about the level of performance. And the performance level of the canopies that you guys are flying, they don't lend themselves to being deformed very much before they're going to do God knows what.
Yeah, some crazy shit. Crazy shit. There was one time where I was trying to learn a barrel roll and I just didn't have enough speed in the canopy. So as I've gone to barrel roll, half my wings collapsed underneath. And instead of barrel rolling me, it's more just like corkscrewed me and like twisted me on an axis around and helicopter me in front of the person. And I was rattled. I got down and I was like, that was a bad idea.
Oh, yeah.
But then the next week went and tried to do it again.
Of course, as you'll do. Well, I had David Ludwig on not that long ago, and he tells the story of when he was doing a big formation, and it was XRW with multiple canopies and multiple wingsuiters. And the guy shooting the video for the entire thing had asked the pilot to fly past the formation in a specific position, which it happened to put the formation straight through the airplane's wake. And Junior, his canopy went from flying happily forward attached to a wingsuiter to backward and upside down flying the other direction and then around again, all in the space of like 2 seconds. So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy when you're flying so relative to someone that you forget how fast you're actually going until shit goes wrong, and then it happens like that.
Yes, nothing's moving until it starts moving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So how did the competition side of things start for you? How did you get to a level in your canopy flying that you're like, all right, it's time to see what I'm made of?
It was kind of, again, early on. I think my first competition was on a Mamba 124, and I had two friends going over to it's called like a backyard competition. It's like over a body of water in the middle of a horse racing track. So it's not like a sweet pond. It's it's called Kapow Cup.
Okay.
It's called Kapow Cup. You basically take off from the airfield, fly over to where the racetrack is, land there, and then you get picked up and you get taken back to the airfield.
Cool.
And that was my first swoop comp. It was only distance and accuracy, but it was my first comp and I won as well, which was nice. Kind of which gave the motivations thing progress and push a little bit more to then go to nationals. And then had my first nationals in 2019. Did well. I didn't finish last, finished somewhere in the middle, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then it just kept the motivation going. I was then training a lot more, got onto a different canopy. I think that's when I went on to the JFX2 99. Loved it. But that's kind of was the last main nationals we had due to COVID, because everything kind of shut down after that. 2020 nationals, we were meant to go to New Zealand, and then it got changed to being hosted at Picton in New South Wales.
Yeah.
And then the border shut for everyone, and then lockdowns happened. So this next nationals that's happening in March will be the next nationals that's happened for 2-3 years.
So this will just be your second nationals ever.
This will be the second nationals ever. Yeah. I've done like a couple of state meets, but this is like the second nationals, I guess. Yeah.
So when all the swoopers are talking about the next generation coming up, they're talking about you.
I guess so.
You're the next generation. Well, let me ask you, how old are you?
Good question. Oh no, I'm 25.
25 years old. And I don't mean to offend you, but you look like you're 16.
I do.
You look like you're
you can't see in the video, but I'm trying to grow in the start.
I'm trying to get mine to go back to dark colors instead of white. It's not happening.
No, the lighting doesn't do the moustache justice. I'm not going to lie.
Fair enough. It was just kind of funny because as you get into the sport, obviously, and you say you're a tandem instructor as well, a tandem instructor, canopy coach, all of these high level things that people naturally assume they're going to meet someone that's got this shitload of age and experience, and then a 16-year-old walks out of the room. Do you find you get resistance from tandem students or canopy students that are like,
it's weird. Hey, like it's funny you ask that, because it's usually for I'll explain too, like the tandem instructors, the tandem passengers, it's usually the mums, or like the elder females. Like, you can't be my instructor. Like, no way. You're the age of my son.
Right.
I'm like, no. Like, I'm the instructor. They're usually the kind of customers I get who usually question my skill level, you could say.
Sure.
And then with the coaching, it's very weird. For Canopy coaching, it's very weird, because usually the people that I'm coaching are a lot older than me, or mid 30s or late 40s. And it is weird, because they're not used to taking advice from a young punk person who might not know what he's talking about. But by the end of the course, they want to come back, and they always say, "Look, hands up! I've learned so much, and I will we will be back for the next one."
Well, that's the thing, right? It just
very weird. Yeah.
It kind of just puts that little extra hurdle that you have to cross, that you have to prove that you actually deserve their attention and know what you're talking about. I mean, you're right, especially from a new jumper perspective. Skydiving's an expensive sport, so it's the perfect midlife crisis extreme sport for people to get into.
Absolutely. And I've had to do a lot of growing up and a lot of maturing.
Sure.
Because when I first got my rating, I was not mature, and I was.
Well, fuck. You're 25, for fuck's sake. You're a 25-year-old skydiver, so let's just say that does not scream mature adult decisions.
No, there was one time, I think it was my second course. No, it was my first course, my first canopy course, where I had a lot of people, I had a good crew, and the drop zone was pumping, and it was after the first day. The day went really well, and I'm young, and I was just wanting to celebrate, get my course, and I was super excited. I was super proud of my achievements, and I just got written off, and I was fucked up. And I remember getting taken down. I remember I was walking down to the caravan, and my friend Bryce, like one of my good friends, he walks down to the caravan and gave me a good talking to. He's our DZSO as well, so also like the fun police, you could say.
Sure.
And he's like, Zach, you're a coach now. You need to pull yourself in. People are looking at you. You can't be telling people. You can't be giving out instructions and being the most fucked up one in the drop zone.
Sure, indeed. Well, or if you're going to do that, there is a time and a place, right?
That's kind of what I've learned.
Yeah. There really is, because I went to what I've talked about a million times on this drop zone, to Skydive Cross Keys. I went to work there, and Skydive Cross Keys was the biggest party drop zone on the planet at the time. But what I always forget to say is it was also a crazy professional drop zone when the operation was going. We got shit done, and management was top notch. During the day, they were straight up managers. But I'll never forget, I think I'd been there for maybe 2 weeks before they had their first proper event, proper party event on a weekend. And I walked out onto the back deck to see my manager, basically my boss, hanging from the rafters of the tiki bar in his underwear. Which was fucking hilarious, but it was also oh, I've not seen him like this, because he was too busy being professional when he needed to be. But man, that boy could definitely let his hair down when the time came.
And like you said, there's a time and a place. And I think the thing that I learned was, you know, people, as weird as it was at a young age, people are paying money to attend and get information from me.
Yes.
So then I have to give the respect back to give that value of product back.
Sure.
So yeah, that was what I learned early on.
Well, and it's also, I mean, we joke around and have a lot of fun, but at the end of the day, it is a dangerous sport. You know, I mean, we've got people's lives in our hands, either directly by being a tandem instructor or indirectly by teaching them how not to kill themselves. And so it requires that next level respect. And fuck, I'm 52 years old and I still every once in a while look around and go, they let me do this shit? Really?
Yeah.
I'm all right. Sure, I'll go fly the plane. Shit. You know, but you keep getting that reality check. But I think that's a really good thing, because that shows that you still have a huge level of respect for what it is you do. Because the day that you're just thinking, yeah, of course I'm doing this, that's the day that chances are it's going to catch up to you.
Oh, absolutely. I think I just got a bit more respect of the lifestyle that I had and how lucky I kind of was. And I was like, maybe I need to take this a little bit more seriously.
Sure.
If people are paying good money for it, maybe I need to, you know, tidy up a little bit, or just don't get caught. One of the two.
I think that's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Just don't get caught, because everybody's out going out and having a good time. It's just that public perception that people get. So
yeah, just don't be the first one on the drop zone.
The wedding photographer stuff. So what is that like? Because talk about a completely different world than the one that we're talking about.
Yeah, no, it's good, but like it is stressful. Like it is stressful. Like dealing with brides and like who want a special day and stuff doesn't go to plan sometimes. And yeah, it does get like you have to put on a bit of a smile constantly throughout the day and trying to convince people that the day that might have been ruined by weather or anything, it's still going to be the best day of their life. But
sure. Well, actually, thinking about it, there are some parallels, though, aren't there, to a wedding day and a first skydive, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a massive event that you've got to chronicle, and you got to keep people from losing their shit.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing. People paid a lot of money, like a lot of money to have you there. You've got to deliver a good product.
Do you get the same reaction when you show up as the wedding photographer and they're like, all right, what are you, the assistant? Where's the actual guy that's doing this? Do you get the same thing?
Oh, yeah, I do. No, it's not even on the day. It's more when I do that, the first meeting with the couple.
Sure.
And like I'm sitting at the bar with a beer and like with my folder and my laptop. And then I can tell the couple, I'm like, hey, how you going? Like, are you blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, hi, I'm Zach. And they're like, sorry. And they're like, I was like, I'm Zach. And they're like, what, you're our videographer? I'm like, yes.
Fuck.
yeah. And it's the same thing. They're like, you can't be our videographer. You're too young to have experience.
Sure.
But yeah, then I deliver what they ask, if not better. And then they're surprised. And then the customers just keep coming. So
sure.
must be doing something right.
Well, and I mean, we can joke around and I can give you shit for looking young all I want, but when you're 50 years old, you'll be the one going,
yeah, I'll take it.
Damn right, man. Damn right.
Absolutely.
So now we initially got hooked up to talk on the podcast because you've gotten hooked up with NZ Aerosports. So how did that come about?
Correct. Again, like it kind of fell into place, but I did work very hard for it. And I kind of knew I was flying their wing and I love their wing. And I love their philosophy, their company, their business model, the people who work there, the people who they sponsor. So I was like, if that's the company I would like to partner with, they're the ones. I'm not keen on the majority of others. But I kind of knew, or I kind of envisioned that by the end of last year, I was going to either be asking them to have a sponsorship or they would ask me if I'm be keen to get this happening.
Sure.
So it went back to the first flocking camp that I did. And I reached out and asked if they could sponsor the event, and I never got a response back. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do the event. I'm going to make the video, and I'm going to include them in the video anyway, like have their stickers in the video, have their logos, yada, yada. I'll try and go way out of my way to make this, you know, them appear in it as much as I can. Posted the video. And then that's when Shannon saw the video and she's like, wow, you've included us. That's super grateful. Let's talk about the athlete sponsorship. And then nothing really happened and it went quiet. And then I was running a flocking event in South Australia for SA Skydiving, another event, and they asked for an event sponsorship from NZ Aerosports. And that's when Hayden Galvin, the athletes rep at the time, asked, is there any NZ Aerosports athletes attending the event? And they said, no, but Zack Rosser is running a lot of the flocking stuff. This is him. And then that's when we got in contact and he told me to applied, and then that's kind of where it went, and that's how the NZ Aerosports journey has started. And I've loved it so far. The people, the staff are amazing, and the wings are just incredible. I can't imagine flying another wing, and they have helped me so much with help getting the flocking event camp over to New Zealand, which I'm very excited about, and they're super behind that. So knowing that they see something in what I'm offering and are willing to go out of their way to help that product or help me get what I want is awesome. Like it's a company that big seeing something in me it's amazing.
Well, and you mentioned their business model and their mentality and their staff and everything. And I was hooked on them before I knew anything about them, just because I saw an Icarus fuck yeah sticker. And
it's crazy. It's on the back of my phone. Like on the back of my phone just says fuck yeah.
Absolutely. And it's a business model that goes counter to especially what my generation was taught forever, is that business is where you've got to be respectable and follow these rules and make sure you always color in the lines. And I've never subscribe to that mentality. And so to see a company, especially one that's now doing so incredibly well, not only start that way, but stay that way. Because if you had told me when I first saw that fuck yeah sticker, God knows how many years ago, that they would have that logo in neon on their office wall so many years later, I would have said, no, they're not going to do that. They're going to back off because they're going to become respectable. And now they're just as respectable with a big fuck you on it. And it's amazing.
The sign just got bigger, brighter, and bolder.
Yes, it really is, and
it's so true. Like I have the t-shirt says Icarus fuck yeah on it. And then like my girlfriend's like, Zach, you can't wear that around. I'm like, why? Like it's the t-shirt. They gave me a t-shirt. It's what's printed on the t-shirt. I'm gonna wear it. And my mum said the exact same thing until I explained it to her. I was like, that's it. Like
that's their business model. And for them to have that mentality and this super low-key working atmosphere that just invites creativity in all its forms. That's obviously how I got started with them, is because I started the same thing. I started doing this on my own, and I was lucky enough to get Attila on the first time. And then I had Shan on, and finally sent them a message going, we should partner up. And it's just, and they're looking for out of the box stuff to do, which translates, of course, into their amazing design team coming up with the wings that you've been talking about, which are they're fucking machines. They're incredible.
Oh, it's insane. And they're ahead of the game, and I'm excited for what they've got that's going to be released.
Oh, talking to Julian about the next big thing coming up and all the stuff that they're envisioning. And of course, me just being a Canopy pilot, I don't envision, I have a very difficult time wrapping my head around advancements far beyond what we've already got, because I never thought that they'd be doing what they're doing now. But Julian is like, oh, you can't even imagine what's coming. Yes, which I don't know how I feel about that, because I'm already scared watching some of you guys land.
Yeah, it's insane, isn't it?
Yes. Now, so what do you have coming down the road? You said that you're trying to get over to New Zealand, and you've got the nationals coming. Are there any big competitions otherwise, and any thoughts to do international stuff, like start really getting abroad?
Yeah, the international stuff, not sure. It's going to depend on borders. It's going to depend, like Australia's been like super hard of like international restrictions and stuff. So
Yes.
that one is like very much in limbo. But yeah, look, I'm running an event next week in Brisbane, like for flocking nationals in March. And then, yeah, I think I'm going to be doing, I will be doing a lap of Australia. So I've got, Cairns, Perth, at the moment for 2 flocking camps. And then I've got 2 flocking camps over in NZ, in New Zealand, sorry, which I'm very much excited for if it all lines up.
Awesome. Now, do you?
Yes, the organised and everything is just border restrictions at the moment that we're sort of waiting
Sure.
on late April.
So it's the flocking events and the swooping competitions. What do you see long term for your career in skydiving? And I ask this because you're so young and just starting out now. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I never would have envisioned that I would have had 25 years in the sport. So what do you think you've got coming for the next 20 years?
I don't know. Hey, I had this same conversation with my friend Niall, and we've even with just 1 year of doing flocking events like last year from start to finish, the progression from then to the start to the end, I never thought would happen. So I'm excited. I'm very, very excited, but I do not know what the future holds. But I know it's going to be fun. I know it's going to be excited, and it's going to be a very good adventure. But I know I'm going to be running stuff consistently around Australia. The dream is to progress internationally, like New Zealand, whoever else is keen abroad, hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, look, I'm only 25. I'm in it for the long game. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll stay healthy. But yeah, I think the future is going to be bright. I'm excited. Awesome. But I don't know what it holds, but I'm excited to find out.
That's what makes it so fucking cool, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, say it with a big smile on my face.
Right, yeah. Now, what do your parents think of all this? Do they think this is a phase and they're hoping you're going to grow out of it?
No, not at all. Not one bit. My mum and dad came out to the drop zone when I did my first, I think, 4 or 5 stages, but they knew after that was that. And when I'd come home, show them this, like the footage, I was like, Mum, watch this. But they love it. My mum's done 2 tandems of me. My dad's done 1 tandem, and they're very supportive. Like I show them all the flocking stuff, and mum's classic mum. She's sharing it, saying, "Look at my son."
It's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
And dad's the same. Yeah, dad's exactly the same. They're very supportive of what I do.
was always so mixed about skydiving. My go-to joke when people would ask if my daughter, if I wanted her to become a jumper. My daughter's your age. My answer was she can skydive as long as she doesn't have to go to a drop zone to do it. The mentality being that's where all the parties and fucking goes on. I don't want my kid there. But
I'll be the same.
Yeah, but it was mixed sensation for me when she didn't really get into skydiving. She enjoyed it, but it's nothing that she would consider a lifestyle. When she chose to go a completely opposite direction, and she's going to be a lawyer. So as polar opposite to me as I can imagine. So I'm crazy proud, but part of me is like, a big part of me is like, thank fuck she didn't follow in my footsteps.
It's kind of the same for me. It's kind of the same for me and my partner, Em. Like, we're very much the same, but we're very much opposites. Like, she wants nothing to do with skydiving. She doesn't want to do a tandem. Not yet, I don't think. Just the classic, like, oh, I'll do one on your 700th jump. That came along. We never did it. She's like, I'll do it when you get your tandem rating. That came along. We never did it. She's like, oh, I'll do it when you get over 100 tandems. That came along. We still haven't done it. So I've just stopped. I'm not asking it anymore. And she's the same. She works for the government in like Department of Child Protection, which is completely opposite to what I do.
Yes. I'll tell you what, though, don't get me wrong. There are always couples that have made it work, and couples in skydiving that either work together in the sport or jump together in the sport, and they make it work and they do a fantastic job with it. But for the most part, having a partner that doesn't involve themselves in the sport is a fucking relationship saver, in my opinion. My wife,
good to have separate worlds.
Yes, I mean, she's done 1 jump, but she doesn't have a desire to go out and be a skydiver. And thank fuck, because it's just no way.
Yeah,
never make it work. So now, as we get towards the end of things, I always ask jumpers to give a bit of advice to newer jumpers coming into the sport and to older jumpers that maybe they're getting a little bit burned out and they're just finding it difficult to find the drive to jump anymore. So for people that are looking to get into skydiving, what advice do you give? And for old guys that are struggling to stay into it, what do you suggest?
I think it's just for new people, just be a sponge. Just sit there, just learn as much information as you can. Don't be afraid to ask those silly questions. There's never a dumb question. And even if there is, you'll then find out that that's a dumb question.
Sure. Oh, we'll tell you.
Yeah, exactly. And then to the older people, just like, I think the thing that I've always learned being younger and being a coach is never be afraid to take on advice from someone that might be younger, because that could be the thing that might save you or help you or benefit you in the long run. So never be afraid to adapt, would be my advice to people.
Well, and I'd imagine too that you're in a unique perspective because you are doing this coaching and stuff. And when you interact with the older jumpers, your excitement and drive for the sport must rub off. It has to.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does. Like I have one guy who's retired, like ex-military guy. I don't know how old he is. Like, must be my dad's age. And whenever, okay, not your age.
Fair enough.
And yeah, look, he's older, and whenever he's like, we're hanging out and stuff, so, that makes him younger, not younger, but it brings out that inner child, because, he's not hanging there, and doesn't make him feel like he's hanging there a child, but, it just makes him have fun. And if that's what, I can do, then that's cool. So I never like to take things seriously. I'm always about having fun. And I mentally am about, well, my girlfriend always says, you're acting like a 12-year-old, but that's what I want to do.
It's about right. Yeah. That's been the huge benefit to working in the sport for 25 years now, is that I was never forced to adopt that 5-day-a-week, 8-hour-a-day, I must be an adult and act responsible. I never had to watch my language. I always got to joke around and say fuck this, fuck that, and have a good time with it, because that's the environment that we live in. And to add to that, your youth and your excitement in the sport has got to be great for an old military guy that wants to kind of get back into the excitement of things. So that's cool.
Absolutely. But like the only thing that I could probably, the advice that I probably give is, as a 25-year-old, or I never in my life did I ever think that this is kind of where I'd end up, or what I'd be achieving. And I had a goal, I had a dream, and I just chased it until it happened. So it showed me that there's nothing that you can't reach unless you put a little bit of time and effort into it.
Sure.
So if you've got a goal, you can make it happen. Just chase the dream.
Yeah. That's great advice. That's great advice in whatever you choose to do. But skydiving,
absolutely,
obviously,
it transforms anything in life.
So how do the people find out about your flocking? How do they find out about your Canopy courses? How do they find you on social media? And tell us about these guys too.
Yeah. So you can find me on Facebook. I've got a Facebook page called Zack's Canopy Course. So ZACK. They always spell Zack a bit wrong, but yeah, ZACK, Zack's Canopy Course. And then you can find me on Instagram, which is Zack Rosser. And I'm usually always posting up events on there. There's a lot more that I haven't posted that are in limbo. So stay tuned for those. And then, that's where you can find me as well.
Awesome. And then of course, these guys, Aerosports.com.
Yes, and Aerosports.com. How can I forget?
Buy the badass rigs. And I believe Hayden is still doing the athlete stuff. So if you're a skydiver out there thinking that you're at that stage where you want to try and get sponsorship, send him stuff. It never hurts to ask. Always ask.
Yeah. Cool. Go big or go home. They're going to love it.
Absolutely. Fuck it. And Zack, man, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down. I really, really appreciate talking to the younger jumpers coming up and the next generation, so to speak, and hearing all these amazing plans that you've got.
Absolutely. Now I've been asked by a friend for me to do, because I told him about the podcast, for me to sign off. He works on trains, and for me to sign off, I've got to say, thanks for having me, and choo-choo!
Very cool. Well, I'll make sure I leave that part in just for you.
You're welcome, Nick.
All right, Zack, blue skies, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much.
See ya. And there you have it, another episode of Lunatic Fringe Into the Void, brought to you as always by, and say it with me, fuck yeah, NZ Aerosports. Head to nzaerosports.com. By Pussfoot. That's right, head to pussfoot.com, the extreme sports collective, and check out everything they've got to offer. By summitparachutesystems.com. Jarrett Martin and the family cranking out amazing pilot rigs, as well as incredible rigging courses. And now joining the Lunatic team, it's the one and only Tony Suits. You know him, you love him. Head to tonysuit.com. Check out all the amazing standards, as well as the new incredible signature line they've got going on. And as for us, the Lunatic Fringe is now on YouTube. That's right, you're going to have the chance to put faces to the audio by heading to youtube.com and looking up the Lunatic Fringe podcast. It's easy. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, check out all the amazing videos from the previous guests that we've had, as well as new and upcoming interviews on video. As always, I am the fucking pilot. Head to thefuckingpilot.net or theprincesspilot.com. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time around.